Good morning. And yes, it is nice to have rain. We drove yesterday with two other people from San Diego. And we could see Californians are worried about driving in the rain, but luckily the person who drove us lives in Houston. So he's used to driving through torrential rain and floods. So to the extent of getting stuck in a car, and you know, he says we have this instrument for breaking the window open if the car doors jam. So this rain is nothing for him. We drove safely, but yes, rain is good. As he just mentioned, we have a rather strange sounding subject this morning: Vedanta and the art of archery, no less. Now, those of you who go a little way back, a few decades back, might have come across this curious little book, Zen and the Art of Archery. Our Swami here was telling me that that book goes way back. Many people won't really make the connection. Zen and the Art of Archery, you needn't be concerned. I mean, we are not actually going to shoot anybody today. Not only that, we are not actually concerned with real bows and arrows. It's a metaphor. But in the Zen and the Art of Archery, they actually use real bows and arrows, though they do not shoot anybody, luckily. What they do is, in Japan, you actually have an art form, a martial art form called Kyudo. And it's really beautiful to watch. What they do is, they use archery, a real bow and an arrow, and there's a target out there. But the aim is not really to hit the target with the arrow. The aim is to attain a Zen meditative trance, a meditative Zen-like state, and the goal is ultimately Satori, enlightenment. If you're interested, you could always look it up on the internet. If you Google Zen archery, it's beautiful to watch. I mean, if you just watch it for 5 minutes, your mind, just watching it, your mind will become calm. But what is our subject this morning is not, you can come over here, there's a space here. It is not even the Zen art of archery, but thousands of years ago, long before even Zen archery, in the Upanishads, in the Mundaka Upanishad specifically, you find the metaphor of archery. The teacher uses the imagery of a bow and arrow and a target to explain enlightenment, to teach enlightenment to the student. I'll recite the mantra first. It's really beautiful and inspiring, and then we will look deeply at it. The mantra goes like this. I'll give you the original Sanskrit and then the translation. Dhanu grihitva upanishadam mahastram Sharam hi upasanishitam sandhaita ayamya tad bhavagatena cetasa laksham tadevaksharam saumya vidhi pranavo dhanusharo hi atma brahmatal lakshamuchyate apramattena vedhavyam sharavat tanmayo bhave. Even the sounds are inspiring. What does it mean? Pick up the bow, the mighty bow of the Upanishad. Vedanta itself is the bow. The teaching of Vedanta, the knowledge of Vedanta is the bow. Pick that up. Fix upon it the arrow. Who is the arrow? You are the arrow. Fix upon it the arrow with the mind sharpened by meditation. Draw the bowstring back. You suffusing your mind with the thought of Brahman, meditating on Brahman. Draw the bowstring back, and my dear child, Soumya, my dear child, let fly the arrow and strike or pierce Brahman. The word vidhi has two meanings. It means to pierce, to hit, strike, pierce, enter, or it also means to know, to realize, to understand. So it's a beautifully chosen word. It fits both knowledge and archery. Pierce Brahman. You are the arrow. Vedanta is the bow. Brahman, God is the target. When I read that, sometimes I get this naughty little cartoon in my head, God is sitting and this arrow comes and hits him and he goes, ow, they're shooting at me again. Brahman, the ultimate reality, the absolute, is the target. With a focused mind, with unerring mind, without error, dear child, hit the target, strike the target, and become one with Brahman. Tanmaya, like the arrow becomes one with the target, become one with Brahman. So that's the imagery. And straight away, we notice some differences. The goal, Brahman, God, the ultimate reality, and we are supposed to reach it in enlightenment. But this ultimate reality which Vedanta speaks about is not at a distance. I mean, 2 weeks back I was driving through Kansas City and we saw this big board. Heaven is a place. But Vedanta says heaven is not a place apart from this. It's not that this is a place and there is another place called heaven which you will go to. It's not that God is somewhere else and we are here and we have to go there. According to Vedanta, the Brahman, the ultimate reality, is all-pervading. Everywhere. Everywhere you can think of, Brahman is the reality of that place. So, Brahman is everywhere. If Brahman is everywhere, Brahman must be here too. That which is everywhere is here. There is no difference in space. It's not that the arrow has to travel through space and go and hit the target out there. It's right here. Not only that, we are not separated from Brahman in time. You see, believe in this religion and meditate and pray and lead a good life, and after death you find God. You have to wait till it's a post-mortem reward, post-mortem God you will find. After death. And that way the preacher is safe. If you ask him, why can't I get God now? You can't get God now because it's after death. Believe me and do what I say, and then after death. But after that you can't catch me also. That's the hey, what happened? I didn't find God. You won't find me either. But when you say Brahman is eternal, all the time. If Brahman is all the time, it must be now also, right now. So it's not a journey. The arrow doesn't travel through time either. You know that from now to then. You have to live now, and then after you die, many decades, years, lifetimes later, you will find the ultimate reality, Brahman. No. Brahman is to be found now. If Brahman is to be found at all, it has to be found now. It's not a journey through space. The arrow doesn't have to travel from here to there. The arrow doesn't have to travel from now to then. It's right here, right now. Not only that, more radically, the Upanishad teaches us that you are Brahman. If you ask for the essence of the teaching of the Upanishad, in one sentence, what does Vedanta teach? Vedanta teaches in one sentence, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. That absolute reality, the ultimate reality, you are. Atman is Brahman, the self is Brahman. Which means, it's not another thing that you're looking for. Here you are, and there is something called Brahman or God which you're looking for. Oh no. It's yourself. We can say your true self, self with a capital S. Hence, what do we find? Brahman being omnipresent must be here. The arrow doesn't have to travel from here to there. Brahman being eternal must be now. The arrow doesn't have to travel from now to then, not a time machine going from now to the future. No. It's not in the future, it's right here and right now. Not only that, the arrow doesn't have to travel from one thing to another thing. You know, your Brahman is not a thing to be attained. It's yourself. It's yourself. It's a journey from yourself to yourself. I think Eckhart put it beautifully. He said spirituality is the flight of the alone to the alone. Alone, small a, alone, capital A. We are alone. little creatures. And we fly to the one, the flight of the alone to the alone, the one reality, which is also alone but with a capital A, because it's the only reality in this universe. If that's so, then what is the journey? If it's not from one place to another, if it's not from one time to another, if it's not from one thing to another, then what is the journey? What does the arrow fly from? From where to where does the arrow fly? The arrow flies from ignorance to knowledge. The journey is from ignorance to knowledge. It's not a place or a time or a thing, but it's from ignorance to knowledge. That which is, just consider this, that which is here, that which is right now, that which is you yourself, how come you don't know it? If it's here, what is here I can see, I can hear. If it is now, right here, right now, I should be able to understand it, grasp it, realize it. And if it is me, even more, how much more should we be able to appreciate it? That I am this. So, the only way that it is here and now and it is me, and yet I do not know it, the only way that is possible is if we are in ignorance. If it is here, but somehow we don't get it, we don't know it. So the difference is that the journey is from ignorance to knowledge. What we require is knowledge of Brahman. We don't require to go anywhere specifically. We don't require to wait from now to many years hence. No. We don't require anything outside of ourselves, because the truth is within us. Now, how does that work? You take up the bow of the Upanishad, the Vedanta, the bow. The Vedanta is the bow, but how do you take it up? What does it mean? Here I would like to use an example, which I like really. It's an example I used yesterday in San Diego. It's about the ocean. And then somebody asked me, tomorrow you're going to give this talk in Trabuco, how are you going to speak about the ocean? There's no ocean there. But anyway, it works. Imagine, yeah, there is, it's way out there, that way. There's the ocean there. And way out there in the ocean, imagine a little wave is born. In the ocean, a little wave is born. And this wave comes up and sees, wow, this is fun. I'm a wave and here are other little waves. I'm playing with them. And I'm growing up, becoming bigger and more powerful. And here are those waves who are my friends. Some waves are mean to me, they're not my friends. And it does its little wave-like things, and it's growing up, becoming a bigger, more mature, more responsible wave, and racing along. And there are problems, of course. After some time, as we grow up, problems come up in life. Problems like, well, those waves are my friends, but those are not. They are mean to me. And that wave is much bigger than me. Lots bigger than me. And look at that wave, it's a tsunami wave, it's huge. I'll never amount to anything like that. I think I'm doing well, but suddenly along comes, say, Bill Gates or Elon Musk or somebody, and somebody asked me yesterday, you mentioned Elon Musk, who's Elon Musk? I said, have you heard of him? He's the new Bill Gates. So somebody like that comes along and says, oh my God, I thought I was doing well, but this guy, I'll never amount to anything, nothing close to him. Inferiority complex. And then the wave looks at a little bubble or a little bit of foam or surf and thinks, what a loser. I'm so much bigger. I look at a homeless person, somebody suffering, poor, and if I'm arrogant, I say, oh, that guy's a loser. I'm doing well. I've got my latest car and latest iPhone and my mortgage is paid up, so I'm doing well. Problems come, superiority complex and arrogance and inferiority complex, problems of comparison. I'm doing well in life, I could do better. Not only that, as time goes on, the wave thought it's going to get better, but actually it begins to diminish. Old age comes. We think that we are getting, life will go on like this. Nobody actually says it, but young people feel that way. Life is not too good now, but it'll get better and we get better. It'll go along. But by the time you reach 40s, you hit the 40s and the 50s, you realize it's not going to go along that way. It's just going to get worse. A doctor once told me, Swami, now we can sort of more or less make sure that you live long but we cannot guarantee that you will live well. Medical science has progressed to the extent that you can live much longer. People are living much longer, 80s, 90s, but not living much better. It's a struggle. It becomes a struggle. The body deteriorates, old age comes. No matter how much CrossFit and yoga and whatnot you do, it still deteriorates. No matter how much gluten free. Yes, that's a new thing. New thing that I'm not saying that these are useless. No, they are good. One should do all that. It manages, helps us to manage. But it manages a losing battle. It manages something that's collapsing anyway. So, yes, it's a truth. And then the biggest truth of all strikes that wave. Is what's that? That is the California coast. California coast, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? What happens to all waves? We dash against it, we burst into spray and foam, and that's the end, that's finished. I'm going to die? Yes. Everybody dies? Yes. That's the question the Buddha asked. When Siddhartha, the Prince Siddhartha became the Buddha, he saw a dead body and he asked the charioteer, what's that? It's a dead body. Death? Do people die? Yes, people die. Will everybody die? My father and, of course, his mother had died in this youth. So are they going to die? Yes. Am I going to die? Yes, you are. Fact of death. Everybody dies. Emperors die and paupers die. Billionaires die. And the homeless person also dies. The PhDs and Nobel Prize winners die, and an ignorant, unlettered person also dies. Saints die. Even the greatest of saints, they die. Death comes, physical death comes. And the wave thinks, my God, so I'm going to die. Biggest of all problems. And along comes a Vedantic wave next to it. And says to it, you know, there is something called water, which is neither born nor does it die. Even when it hits the California shore, it's still water. And this wave goes, good for water, good for water. What about me? And then the wave tells him, you are water, that thou art. Really, how am I water? I am a wave. Look at yourself. Look deep within yourself. What you find inside yourself is water. And you don't even have to look really deep into yourself. You can look at the surface, that's water too. You can look at your top, that's water. You can look at the bottom, that's water. Inside and outside, there's water. And in fact, if you look at it, if you think about it, you are nothing other than water. It's not that like you're a wave and there's a little bit of water inside you, and the wave is going to die, the little bit of water is going to survive. Not at all. You are water through and through. The wave which you thought yourself to be is a name, it's a form, it's an activity, born of the same water. Before you became a wave, you were water. And when you're going to hit the California shore and burst into spray and surf and whatnot, you'll still be water. And right now, you are water. You are as water, you are immortal. And the wave goes, wow, that's great. Not only that, there are added benefits. What are the added benefits? Look around yourself. Your other waves, all the other waves you look around. The big wave you are jealous of, that's water too, that's exactly what you are. And the little waves you are contemptuous of, they're also water, they're exactly the same as you. No arrogance or no inferiority is possible. The same existence consciousness bliss everywhere, inside and outside, all around us. Not only that, the sense of separation. You see, the little wave, it felt itself separated from everybody else. But now when it sees itself as water and everybody else as the same water, one thing happens. The boundaries between itself and the others start dissolving. It doesn't think, okay, I'm a wave made of water, that guy's a wave made of water, we are all the same, fine. No. It begins to feel, I am not just this. I am this and that and that and that and that too. In fact, the entire Pacific Ocean, I am. the circle of the eye expands immensely. No longer is the wave concerned, no longer thinks of itself as the wave. It's no longer concerned with the little wave form and little wave activity. It sees itself as the all. No longer does it see itself as water in a wave. Rather, it sees itself as the water in which all waves are. You see the difference between being water in a wave and the water in which all waves are. Think about it this way. Which is more powerful, the wave or the water? Water. Because before the wave came, the water was. After the wave goes away, the water will be. When the wave is there is water and only water. Show me a wave apart from the water. You cannot. It will disappear. Which is more powerful, the wave or the ocean? You'll say the ocean. The ocean is the huge thing. It's everything and all waves are parts of it. True. But which is more powerful, the water or the ocean? Water is more powerful. Because the ocean depends for its existence on water. Water does not depend on the ocean for its existence. It could very well be, and it is in fact, it will be evaporated and come and rain down on Trabuco. It's still water. It's no longer the ocean. It's still water. In the Ashtavakra Gita, one of the texts of radical non-dualism, the sage sings, I am an infinite ocean of existence, and all beings, including this little being, all beings are waves in me. And that infinite ocean of existence and all beings are the waves in me. They come up, they play with each other, they fight with each other, they make up, and they disappear back into me. Beautiful verse. Mai ananta mahambodho vishwa ashcharyam ashcharyam jiva vichaya. Let me start all over again. Mai ananta mahambodho ashcharyam jiva vichaya udyanti nanti kelanti pravishanti swabhavata. In me, the infinite ocean of existence. How wonderful are these little waves called living beings, individuals. They are born in me. They play in me. They love each other in me. They hate each other and fight against each other in me. Love, play, fight, make up. And then what happens to them finally? They disappear back into me. Think of the example of a dream. In a dream, we project an entire universe. There are people, there are events, there are places, and it comes ready-made with its own history. And we are there too in the dream, with the dream body. And we interact and we have, the whole thing depends upon you, the dreamer. It's happening, you see it, but it depends upon your mind, the dreaming mind. In the same way, if you see yourself, if you can realize, we can realize ourselves as Brahman, the infinite ocean of existence. This entire universe will be seen to be not different from our reality, from us, the existence consciousness place. Vivekananda, when he first heard this from Ramakrishna in the Kali temple across from in Calcutta, on the bank of the Ganges River in India, when he first heard this, he was sarcastic. He said, everything is infinite ocean of existence, so the pots and pans are God. What kind of crazy teaching is this? Pots and pans are the cup is God and the saucer is God and everything is God. He was making fun with Hajra, who was a bit of a skeptic, who admired Ramakrishna but also was a little arrogant and a bit skeptical, and they were talking and making fun. And Ramakrishna comes out of his room and he says, what are you speaking about? What are you talking about? No, the pots are God and pans are God and everything is God. This is crazy. And Sri Ramakrishna touched Vivekananda, who was Narendranath at that time, a young boy, college boy, touched him. And he saw, Narendranath saw everything as God, as Brahman, as an infinite, endless ocean of existence, in which all things arise and appear and interact and they disappear back again. As he was walking down to his house in Calcutta, those who know, they still know that there is this park called Hedua Park, and there are iron railings on that park. It seems that Vivekananda, he caught hold of those railings and banged his head against the railing to see if they are real. It seemed to be appearances. There was a horse-drawn carriage rushing along the road. And he said, I didn't feel like stepping out because that's also, and all of this are the same. They are just names and forms. Water into water. Luckily he did step aside, otherwise we wouldn't get all these teachings. And that Vivekananda, who was so skeptical, who made fun of all this, years later when he came and taught here in the United States, he would stand up and say, Krishna and Christ are waves in the ocean that I am. I am not as Vivekananda. He was not that arrogant. I am as infinite existence consciousness. So, that's how we realize, that's how we use the bow of the Upanishad. When the teacher says, pick up the bow, that's what he means. You know, the prayer which I chanted while starting this, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Now we understand it much better. Think about it. Lead us from the unreal to the real. What is unreal? The wave, name and form. Unreal in what sense? I see it out there. How can it be unreal? Unreal in this sense, there is no wave apart from the water. What you are seeing there, then what do I see? If the wave is not real, then what do I see? What you are seeing there is water. After all, what is your eye seeing there? Water. That name and the form, we call it a wave. In itself, there is no reality. From the unreal to the real, when the wave realizes that it is water, it moved from the unreal to the real. It realizes the reality within. From darkness unto light. Remember what we discovered. The flight of the arrow is not from a place to another place. It is from ignorance to knowledge. From darkness unto light. I thought I was this little wave playing along the surface of the ocean and going to dash against the California coast and die. I thought that. Now I realize I am immortal as water. In the same way, we think we are this little person, son or daughter of so and so, destined to, with our busy little lives, things to do, our little hopes and disappointments, leading this life, destined to hit the California shore, figuratively speaking, death. That's what we think. But when we know that we are Brahman, actually realize it, not just read about it or hear about it, actually realize it, we have moved from darkness to light. The movement is from ignorance to knowledge. Nothing has changed. The reality is still there. The ocean is still out there. Suddenly it dawns on me, I am this immortal essence of existence. I am the being in which this universe appears. What a tremendous thing to say. And then the third line, lead us from death to immortality. What's the benefit of all of this? The wave, which was a mortal wave, now becomes the immortal water. How does it become? Does it have to work very hard, somehow convert itself from a wave into a water? Not at all. It just has to realize its water. When we realize that we are Brahman, that thou art, immediately we realize where we are and we will always be immortal. Bodies are born and bodies die. Minds change. But beyond mind and body, right now, right here, I am existence consciousness place. That is moving from mortality to immortality. And the benefit of that, I no longer compare myself with the high or the low. I don't feel inferior to anybody. I don't feel superior or arrogant towards anybody. I feel one with everything. You actually feel that sense of a deep oneness with the entire universe. Then the attitude becomes one of love. Love is not a forced love. The love of one individual being to another individual being is a very limited kind of love. It is subject to many causes and conditions. The love of the infinite towards the finite within itself is the love of oneness. It's not subject to conditions. Today we were reading in our breakfast reading, Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, he gave a talk in Harvard University. And there he spoke about the ideal of love. He says there's a triangle, not what you might think. The triangle, one vertex of the triangle is the ideal of love. The truth of love is that there should be no what he calls shopkeeping, bargaining in love. I will love you if you give me this, you behave in this way. You know, parenting, mothers and fathers, they are told about the children, give them unconditional love. The temptation in parenting is, faced with an unmanageable child, is I will love you if you are good, if your grades are good, if your behavior is good, then only I love you. No, unconditional love. I'll be happy if your grades are good and your behavior is good. I'll be unhappy if your grades are not good, your behavior is not good. But regardless, I love you. That unconditionality in love is the first vertex of that triangle. First angle of that triangle. That unconditional love, no bargaining, no shopkeeping in love. And then the other one is love knows no fear. Where there is fear, even fear of God. Fear of God may be good as a kindergarten religion. You start off with an awe of God, fear of God. But one must progress from that. Where there is true love, there is no fear. Where is there fear? Wherever there is expectation of gain or anxiety about loss, there is fear. If God is there, if God can give me something or take away something from me, then I am scared. I am afraid. Then even my love of God will be the love of a slave. Yes, it will be love of somebody who is bound. But if I have nothing to lose, I am that immortal existence consciousness place. And I have nothing to gain. What will I gain? I am everything. There is nothing apart from me. What will I gain? I have nothing to gain. I am the infinite. I have nothing to lose. I am immortal. I cannot die. I'm perfectly secure. In that case, my love, whether it is love to God, who is just another form of that infinite, or love to one's fellow beings, it will be unconditional and it will be fearless. There is absolutely no fear in love. If you do not want anything from love, one of the results will be love becomes fearless. There is no fear there. And finally, he says the top, the vertex, the upper angle of the triangle, he says is love is the highest ideal of life. Highest ideal of life. Vivekananda in one place, he says in a poem, let all visions cease. The visions means that I am this little individual apart from you, and this is my busy little life. Or not so busy little life. Somebody said, we lead lives of quiet desperation. Something beyond this lives of quiet desperation. When we discover that, if the vision ceases, Vivekananda says, when you discover yourself as this infinite existence consciousness bliss, then this vision ceases. That the idea that I am a little wave, it ceases when I realize I am the entire ocean. I identify myself with everything. But you might say it's difficult. It's difficult. It's not happening anytime soon. In that case, what is the other option? How do I live right now? Vivekananda says in the next line of the poem. Or if you cannot, then if you cannot stop dreaming, if you cannot, then dream but better dreams, which are eternal love and service free. What a beautiful philosophy of life. If I am convinced that I am this Brahman, infinite existence, though I do not realize it right now, then how do I start living now? I live a life of love and service. Eternal love and service free. I'm not telling that you have to give up your job and refuse your salary. What are you going to eat then? Even this little body also deserves food. So, yes. But then that money doesn't become the goal of your life. The goal of your life becomes, or the very philosophy, the basis of life becomes love and service. Eternal love and service free. So this triangle of love. The goal is love. The method is not shopkeeping, unconditional love. And there should be no fear in that. Absolutely no fear. No fear because I have nothing to gain. Absolutely nothing to gain. Nothing. At the worst, what will happen? Death will come. Death is the death of one little wave. Death is the death of one little body. I am infinite existence consciousness. Now it sounds great, but there is a catch. When we go back to the mantra, the Upanishad is saying, the verse, it says, sharpen the arrow and fix it on the bow. You see, the arrow has to be straightened and sharpened. When we listen to Vedanta talks by the dozen, people come and say that I have been listening to Vedanta for decades, Swami. And I still think I'm awake. There's no sign of water. Look at the language. I'm a wave, but there's no water. How is that possible? Anyway, so that's what it feels like. Just like this goes on. The reason why it feels like that is the mind is not capable of assimilating this truth. It understands. To some extent, if you think about it, it's not so difficult. You may even get an intuitive feel for it. But it's not very useful. The moment we go out into the freeway out there, and the whole Vedanta is left in Trabuco. There's Swami Turiyananda, the famous story about one of the great Swamis, disciple of Sri Ramakrishna and an ardent Vedantist, who was an enlightened person. In his old age, he had to have something lanced in his thumb. Yes. And the doctor in Benares, where he was in his old age, said, Swami, we have to put some anesthesia on this. Otherwise, it's going to hurt terribly. And the Swami said, doesn't matter. You tell me when you're going to cut, and it'll be all right. And the doctor actually did that, and to the amazement of people who had gathered around, there was no reaction. It's not that the Swami was in deep meditation. He's sitting there calmly. The interesting thing happened next day. When the doctor came back to dress the wound, he opened the bandage, was about to dress the wound, clean the wound and dress it, and the Swami shouted in pain. He shouted out in pain. And the doctor was surprised. He said, Swami, I know it hurts, but it's nothing compared to what it was yesterday. And yesterday you were so calm. Today you are shouting in pain. And the Swami said, oh, you should tell me when you are going to do that. Then I would take my mind away from that. The Bengali is mon tulintam. I would, literally it means I would rise above that. Right? It means I would go from my wave identity to my water identity. That's what it means. Now this is possible for an enlightened soul. There is another story of another monk. It's just handed down through word of mouth among the monks. It's not published. The earlier story was published in a book. This story concerns a monk who had read a lot of Vedanta, but was not enlightened. And once he had to have an operation. And he said to the doctor, you can operate, I don't need an anesthesia. The doctor said, are you sure it's going to hurt a lot? Yes, I'm sure. I am the witness consciousness. I am the infinite ocean of And the inevitable happened, not what he thought. But the doctor sliced through and the Swami shouted out in pain, oh, wait, put some anesthesia. The doctor said, Swami, what happened to the infinite ocean of infinite existence and consciousness? And the Swami groaned and he said, oh, those useless things are, the book knowledge remained in the book. Book knowledge remained in the book. It's not here. It works much better in Hindi. वो साला किताब का बाद किताब में रह गया. That worthless book knowledge remained in the books. That's what's going to happen unless we actually have a feel for it. So the Upanishad says the mind has to be sharpened, the arrow has to be sharpened. Sharpened by what? Through meditation. This is where meditation is of great help to Vedanta. Quieten the mind, calm the mind, focus the mind through regular meditation. And meditation is not an instant thing. It takes practice. So regular meditation, morning and evening, sit, whatever your guru has taught you, whatever technique that you follow, sit and concentrate. calm down the mind. Even that, some people will scratch their heads and say, yeah, we've been doing it, but the problem is when you try to meditate, two problems. Either you fall asleep, or mind becomes restless and starts thinking about this and that. I've seen, we have this place where the monks are trained, and morning and evening they sit for meditation. And I would see the more restless among the novices, they would sort of, if you're supposed to sit for 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours, so they would open their eyes and take a look at the clock. Quickly shut their eyes. Just see how much more I have to say. First thing, many of them inevitably ask, okay, meditation. How long do I have to do that? You see, what do you mean how long? It should be a pleasure, it should be a joy, it should be peace and joy and calmness and serenity. It isn't, because the mind is restless. Or the opposite happens. The mind is not restless, but it goes to sleep. I can tell you a classic story. I mean, it really happened, and I know the person. So one of them, both are novices. If you go to our main monastery, you will see them in white. And one of them was a very restless kind of soul, very energetic. But that very energetic type has a difficulty in sitting down and meditating. And the other person who was sitting in a big hall early in the morning, it's still dark before sunrise, and lots of monks are sitting and meditating. So this young man also, he's a newcomer, he sits and meditates, but he's bubbling with energy. How long can he sit quietly and meditate? And he sees this other young novice who is dozing in front of him. So now he has found something to do. And he goes and taps him on the shoulder. Hey, sit straight. And the guy looks at him, okay, sit straight. And every day he would do that. And this guy, what could he do? After a few days, this novice found the other one's not there in his usual seat. And he asked her, where did that guy go? Was the one who was dozing? Where did he sits outside the temple now? So the next day in the morning, when this novice sat for meditation, after some time, he got up and he went outside the temple to look for the other novice, who sure enough was dozing outside the temple. Poor chap. He wants a little bit. And this man goes there and, hey, wake up, sit. To the extent that a few days later, the other novice who was the sleepy one, he went to the bank of the river to meditate because tortured by this hyper kind of person. This person has also got an engagement now. He doesn't want to sit and meditate, so he wants something to do, And so that he's taken up it as his duty, bounden duty, to make the other person meditate. Why does this happen? Why doesn't meditation work? It's supposed to calm down our minds and concentrate on our minds and focus our minds. Why doesn't it work? Well, they say the problem is the mind is full of trash. We have pumped so much of garbage into our minds. In Sanskrit, they are called vasanas, impressions, desires, tendencies, habitual ways of thinking. All of this is there in the mind that has to be cleansed to some extent. So this cleansing process, you can liken it to straightening out the arrow. When you shoot an arrow, you have to do two things. First, straighten the arrow, and second, sharpen the arrow. If you do not straighten the arrow and you shoot the arrow, it will go anywhere, but it won't go to the target. And if you straighten the arrow, but not sharpen it, you shoot it at the target, it may even hit the target, but what will happen? It will hit and bounce off and fall back there. That's what happens to many people. Many people even get an inkling, an understanding, a feel for Vedanta. Hit the target, but bounce off and fall flat. They say that, yes, it's true and I'm convinced, but it really doesn't make any difference to me in my life. I don't feel I am Brahman. The arrow is not becoming one with the target. I still feel Brahman is something I have to realize, I have to do more practice, more meditation, more Vedanta classes, and then somehow I will become Brahman. It's as silly as saying the wave saying I will become water. The wave will become water. How ridiculous is that? But it happens. So straightening out the arrow, powerful practice is karma yoga, unselfish action. It cleanses our inner being, karma yoga. And sharpening the arrow, powerful practice is meditation. In Vedantic terms, upasana. That's why the mantra said, arrow sharpened by upasana. Upasana is meditation. It includes both worship and meditation. Bhakti, love of God, and meditation on God. Both are combined there. Straightened arrow, sharpened arrow. And then, one more point. Have you noticed when an archer shoots an arrow, the archer wants the arrow to go that way. But what does the archer first do? He pulls it back this way. He draws back the bowstring. That's what gives power to the arrow. And that's why the Upanishad says, ayamya, beautiful word, drawing back the bowstring. Drawing back the bowstring means one must step back from life. One must step back from life. I'm not saying that you have to put on an orange and become a monk. But even if one does not become a monk externally, anybody who is serious about spiritual life must step back, must become a monk internally. I say the monkey mind must become a monk mind. So one must step back from the hurly-burly of life. And that consists of simplifying life, first of all. A monk is a person who does not have, first of all, possessions. I'm not asking you to throw everything out. No, the possession stuff is a big problem in America. It goes from your house, overflows your house to the garage, overflows your garage to, I saw this Uncle Bob's storage. Reduced stuff. Why reduced stuff? Because we do not know how it affects our mind. The moment you say, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, these gadgets are mine, this furniture is mine, these clothes are mine, everything that we say is mine, my mind goes, a tiny bit of my mind goes and stays there. All this stuff is mine, my mind goes and stays there. When you say it's not mine, a simple life, minimize stuff, then your mind is more your own. It's not scattered out there in the world. Minimize your relationships, simplify your relationships. Whatever you have to do in life, do that and have those relationships, but have a sense of the divine in all relationships. The problem is of various kinds of relationships. See that you see the divine in all beings. You can do it in the world too. Husband and wife and father and mother and children and co-workers, even your boss. Your boss does think he's divine, but one can see in co-workers and everywhere you can see. So you harmonize all relationships on the seeing that same reality in everybody. Thinking about it at least. Activities. We, especially in this country, I've seen, have a little bit of time. Oh, your schedule is open now. What do I fill it up with? Don't fill it up with something. Watch the game, go out there, do something. No, don't fill it up. You can come here to Trabuco and listen to the talk. But other than that, don't fill it up. Be with yourself. Use that time for spiritual practice. Reduce external activity. So, a monk, internally one must become a monk. That is inevitable. That is stepping back from life. To be spiritual, one must go away. One will come back again, but first one must go away. To be spiritual, to step forward towards God or to realize Brahman, one must first step back into yourself, a little quietness. The Buddha became the Buddha. Before that, what did he do? He stepped away from his kingdom and his life as a prince and went into the forest. But Christ spent years and years in wilderness. Jesus. Every person who's become enlightened has had a period of withdrawal, of stepping away. I am here. Pull back the bowstring. And then he says, Lakshyam Tadevaksharam, that unchanging reality, the water of the ocean, infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. Strike it unerringly and become one with it. Even this is figurative language. You are already one with it. We are at this moment. A monk under whom I used to study Vedanta used to say, Tum jano yana jano, tum mano yana mano, tum hi ram. Whether you know it or you do not know it, whether you accept it or you do not accept it, you are God. I'm using the God word. Some people say, why are you using God, but it carries too many connotations. Doesn't matter, it's an old word. Even if it has the wrong kind of connotations and reaction, people react to it, but it also has the right kind of connotations too. What I mean by God is your true reality, is your own true self, the capital S self, not the small person self. Strike the target, become one with it, realize I am Brahman. With that realization comes the realization I am immortal. Not that I was mortal and I became immortal. Not that I was a wave and I became water. I was water all through. I realized even when I did not know it, I was water. Even when I did not know it, I am, I was, I am, I will be Brahman. That realization comes. And together with that comes the added realization, everybody else is Brahman too. Ramdas, I told the story earlier also, I think. Ramdas, well-known teacher, he had a brother who had mental problems and was in an institution. So he went to his brother and his brother said to him, look Ramdas, you tell people that Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. And people worship you, they fall at your feet and they bow down to you. And I tell people I am Brahman and they lock me up. It's not fair. Ramdas smiled and said, yeah, the difference is I tell people I am Brahman and everybody else, you also are Brahman, everybody else is Brahman. But the mistake you are making, brother, is that you say, I am Brahman, worship me, come. And they lock you up. With the realization that I am existence, consciousness, bliss, comes the realization everybody else, though whether they know it or not, it is one divinity shining forth in all these beings. And you are one with them. Hatred drops away, prejudices drop away, greed drops away, lust drops away, love reigns in its place, the feeling of oneness. I am consciousness. My mind, they say mind suffused with spiritual, high, noble thought. A mind which is peaceful and shining with the light of the divine. And the body is an offering into the world. As long as the body lives, it will be a life of service. As Vivekananda said, eternal love and service free. So that is, in brief, the Vedantic art of archery. Let us all become archers. Fix ourselves on the bow of Vedanta and shoot ourselves to our own self, real self, capital S. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Swami Sarvapriyananda ji. Swami Sarvapriyananda is the Assistant Minister of the Vedanta Society of Southern California and also a resident monk of our Hollywood Center. We are very grateful to have him here today. I've known those brothers.
Oh, yes,
who like to meditate that way. Been there. We will have a 10 minutes break. You're all welcome to go to the library.